And thank you very much, Paula, for being with us. I came last year. I came in November 2021. I brought a slot to the MBA Center. So it was a pleasure to be in Barcelona. Now, basically, Paula, can you please introduce yourself to our students and to our followers?
Yes. So thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to collaborate. I'm the head of admissions for the full-time MBA at IESE. I've been working for the school since 2016, when after graduating from my MBA at IESE, so I'm an alum from the school. So my history at IESE has already been going on for 9 years, because I joined in 2014 as a graduate, as an MBA student, and then graduated in 2016. Joined as the associate director responsible for admissions in Latin America. I'm originally from Brazil. So I did LATAM for 4 years. And then right before the pandemic hit, I took over as the admissions director in February 2020. And I moved to Barcelona, where I'm connecting from now. And I've been here for 3 years.
Now, basically, Paula, we could do a sort of interview that we do for the students. It could be a reverse interview, maybe. Let's start like this. And what brought you to work for IESE?
So what brought me to, I think that the experience that I had as a student was the main driver. So prior to the MBA, I was doing consulting. So I'm an industrial engineer by training. And when I graduated in 2010, I went to do management consulting. And I wanted to change career and do something that would be more impact driven. So when I came to the MBA, I already wanted to shift careers. And I did my summer internship with a professor at IESE that had an educational NGO back in Brazil. And I realized that I was very passionate about education. So I decided that education was where I wanted to be after the MBA. So it was like one piece of the puzzle matching with the other. I started looking into education, and then my career counselor suggested that I looked into IESE, and my experience here had been so positive and so transformational. That's how I would define it. In terms of like my expectations for the MBA, how much I grew as a person, not only as a professional, the values that the school stands for and that actually implements and puts into action. It was very aligned. I'm a very value-driven person, like being aligned with the culture and feeling comfortable and belonging is very important for me. So I thought that it was a good opportunity to meet a lot of the expectations that I had for my post-MBA aspirations, was to work in education in a company that I believed in the product, in the values, in the culture, and also the impact that I could have in the candidates, right? Because at the end, it's a very important decision in our lives. The business school that we're going to attend, right? It can change our lives forever. And I thought it could also be like a small, big contribution on people's lives to counsel them well during the admission process. So that's what drove me to stay at IESE as staff.
And tell me, so you see, sometimes you see that's a question that you asked, so we should ask it to you as well. And what are the qualities that should have hard skills, soft skills to be a good admission officer?
The criteria for being admitted at IESE.
To be a good admission officer. What are the qualities of a good admission
officer? A good admission officer.
What are the skills?
Okay.
It's important that we know the people behind the scene. Okay.
That's interesting.
That are important as well. So many people ignore that. But by the way, it's funny because sometimes when I say I'm going to meet this person and they don't realize how important this person was for the success. So it's important. So what are the qualities according to you to be a successful admission officer?
That's a very good question. Not a question that is asked that often, but I have it actually very clear. One is that you have to be passionate about people, no? Because it's basically our job. We are, I like to say that we are more than constantly assessing people. What, at least at the ESA, the mission that we have in my team is that we want to assist and support the candidates throughout the process, right? So we want to, we need to be passionate about people, right? Because we need to want to help, right? And we need to be very transparent and honest about it, right? Like I've had cases sometimes where I just told people, listen, I don't think that coming to ESA is the best option for you. You know, like maybe for your career aspirations or your financial situation is not the best thing for you to do now. Maybe you should wait, or maybe you should look at something else. So we are very honest and transparent because we don't want people to come and put themselves in a difficult situation, right? Like we want this to be like a good experience, an experience that is going to add to their lives, that is going to actually make them grow and develop and be better. We don't want to put anyone in a difficult situation. So I think you need to be passionate about people. You need to want to help. You need to be very organized because at the ESA here we do end to end, so beginning to end. So we talk to people when they're in the very beginning of their journeys, and we also read their applications, we discuss their application, and we take care of them until they are seated in class, right? So the range of focus is very big. So we're doing multiple things at the same time. So being very organized is very important. Not necessarily you need to be an extrovert, but I think that you need to be well spoken, right? Because it's important that we send the right messages, that we give the candidates the correct picture of what the MBA is, of what their career opportunities could be, right? So I would say that communication skills is also very important in this job.
Okay. Yeah, so it's something important to know. Now, basically, you know that I have a lot of Indian followers. Probably out of the 100,000, I have 80,000 who are Indians. And basically, as you know, it's very, very tough for Indians to be accepted. Okay, and sometimes they revert to me. Even my team in India, they say, "How come students from Europe they get in with such scores? We have an Indian with a 730 does not even get an interview." So basically, what is the situation with Indians, and how do you select them, and what would you recommend them? So you can spend 5-10 minutes, by the way, about this. That's something we already discussed. So tell me so that they understand why is it tough for them to get in.
Yes, so it is very competitive for Indians. It's true, because it's definitely the nationality that we get the most applications from, right? And the reason why we need to be selective is because we are looking into having diversity at school, right? I think that we would probably have enough applications to have good Indians taking half of our seats. But at the end, it's not what we want. Like we want, we are a very global school. So we want like a fairly balanced split between the regions, right? So 30% coming from the Americas, another 30% coming from Europe, and another 40% coming from Asia and Middle East and Africa. So it's important to keep the numbers balanced, right? And then if you just have many people, and then it can be a general statement, right? If you have many people from the same nationality applying, like it's natural that it's going to be more difficult, right? And tougher and more competitive. And that's what happens with Indians. And to make this even harder, usually the Indians are very good, right? because they are very dedicated, they are hard workers, their GMATs are usually very good, they've had good careers. So the Indians that apply to ESA are very good. So my associate director responsible for India has a very, very hard job making the short list. And what we are looking into is if the Indians are going to be able to perform well in the environment that we have, right? So we understand that not everyone has international experience, although international experience is a plus. So it's much easier for me to assume that someone that has international experience will perform well in an international environment. I think that's pretty obvious. And for those that don't have international experience, I have to make a bet, right? So for those that don't have international experience, they have to prove somehow that they can perform well and do good in a diverse environment, right? So if I have to make like any sort of recommendation, is look into your experience and point out the moments where you had to handle like a diverse group of people, right? People that were different from you, people that were different among themselves. So it's important that we see that you have this ability of working outside of your comfort zone and from your comfort group, right? And people that have the same profile. So this is definitely something that we want to that we will assess. We will also assess collaboration. So at the ESA we have one of our pillar values is spirit of service, and we are a very team-driven program, right? So most of our activities are all done in teams. We split our class into teams of 8 to 9 people, and people from all over the world. So it's important that people want to help each other, right? We understand that business school is a competitive environment, but we say that the ESA, we are competing against ourselves, right? Not with others, not with your colleagues necessarily, right? We want people to be the best version of themselves, not necessarily better than others, right? So this is a constant learning that we want our students to get. So you also have to show collaboration, and this is something that is important. So we want the drive, but we don't want the aggressive drive, right? We want them to show that yes, you can be ambitious, but you don't have to step on anyone else. So it's also important somehow to show collaboration and this. You have to be genuine, huh? So if you're not that much on that group of people, if that's not your profile, maybe ESA is not the best school for you, right? So it's also something to take into consideration. But I would say that the ability to work in an international environment, the collaboration, something a bit more broad is the potential to create impact. So that's also important. So this is what we are expecting our students whenever they become alumni. That's what we expect from them, right? That they create impact, that they are leaders, that we leave a mark. And we don't just say that just for the sake of saying, right? Like this is actually why we exist. We are a mission-driven school, and we want our students to create impact. So this is also something that we are assessing in our process. And communication skills is also very important, right? Like you have to be very mindful how you come across, not to sound arrogant, not to sound too aggressive. I know that in different cultures it's very easy to get the tone wrong, right? Just because you're used to being in a way, and then you come to very, very international environment, and something that, like at home, you would be taken very well. Maybe here someone can take it as an offense. So it's also important to be very mindful on how you come across, right? So polish is important, and being mindful on how you communicate.
Very good. So it's very important. So don't take it bad if they don't take you. Simply they have too many good Indian applicants, and of course. So I explained to Indians, you 1.5 billion, Swiss are 10 million. So of course, yeah, they're gonna take Indians only because these schools in Europe are not so big. Alors basically, can you tell us, we hear many things about the world, the economic situation, recruitment, okay, unemployment, these companies that fire, like Amazon, like the GAFAM. So what is the situation today with recruitment, and what do you anticipate for this year and the coming years?
Okay. So the situation for this year is, in terms of like, we are on par with last year, but we have some regions that are overperforming and some others that are underperforming, right? So they're kind of compensating themselves. India has grown a lot, so it's definitely the overperformer that we've been seeing this year, while we have the Americas underperforming. So that's where, like, Europe is also not doing that well, or it's stagnated. We foresee some sort of crisis coming in the next years. So in terms of recruitment, we expect recruitment to increase in the next years. This year, I think that the later rounds can save us some surprises. If, like as you said, the redundancies in some big companies really kick in, maybe we're going to have some late applicants that have been made redundant coming back to business school, because the MBA industry is a counter-cyclical industry. So whenever the economy is doing well, you have less applicants. When economy goes worse, you have more people deciding to come to business school, because it's a good moment to pause your career, and because nothing very interesting is going to happen in the job market anyway, right? So if you're already planning, it's a good moment to have that break and develop yourself, and then you're going to be more competitive when the market is coming back, right? So just a brief concept on why we are counter-cyclical. So the crisis hasn't completely hit. So that's why in terms of recruitment, we are a bit slower than in previous years, because we had the pandemic being more intense than now. But I think that, unfortunately, I'm not going to say that this is good, but unfortunately, we're going to see some recession coming, and this makes applications kick in from the business school side.
Okay, so it's an important one. So tell me, how do you see the future of IESE in Europe among business schools in the global competition? What do you intend to do to keep and to innovate to be one of the top 10 business schools in the world?
Okay. That's a very good question.
Don't reveal secrets, but I'm sure that you have, in terms of, I don't know, I'm sure that you always try to innovate. So what are you going to innovate to do to stay in the top 10 best business schools?
Yeah. So I think that what also keeps us high ranked is our obsession with the experience that our students have on campus, right? Like, we are trying to develop or create a very transformational experience for our students, right? And I think that at the end we are very successful, because like the 2 years that we live on campus are very deep and very meaningful in our lives, right? And then to make sure that this happens, we need to keep up with the market, right? And with what the students are actually looking for. And then every year, we usually don't have something that innovates completely the program, but every year we are innovating something, right? So I think that a big trend of the market of the world is to be more and more international, right? And maybe the pandemic has even made it even more, because now not necessarily you need to travel, but you can connect online. But the cultural differences are still there, even if you're connecting just online, right? So yes, it keeps being a very international program, and we are including even more international modules, right? So we've recently added Dubai as one of our international modules. Mexico is another new international module. So I think that this is one. We also know that there is a more and more interest/need for data-driven approach. So we don't expect our students to become programmers or developers, but they need to understand the whole machine learning, AI, to be able to cope with where the world is going, right? So the big chunk of the new subjects that have been added to the curriculum are about technology, right? So in this way, we keep up to date, and we're always in partnership with other big business schools, and I think that that's also important, and with companies, right? So I think that one of the advantages of ESA is that we are only business school, although we have the link with the University of Navarra. We are pretty independent, right? So I would say that we're almost a standalone business school. So we are very focused in this area, in the executive education. So we have, for example, now on campus, we have the global CEO program happening. So you have CEOs from all over the world. So it's basically, we have very fresh information of what's happening in the market, and the same professors that teach in these programs also teach in the MBA. So this exchange of knowledge makes sure that guarantees that that our students are also getting the freshest perspective of what's happening in the world.
So it's very good. So last questions, Paula. So what piece of advice would give to applicants, okay, to current GMAT and GRE students, to increase their chance of admission? Give us, you're the Director of Admission at IESE. What can we do? What can we tell them? What many will apply to your school to increase their chance of admission, in addition to writing a good application, adding a great interview, and good GMAT and GRE. What else can they do?
Yeah, that's a very good question, and I think that, and I think that this is probably true for every school. So I think this is like a pretty general advice: is understand the essence of the school. I think this is very important, and sometimes as applicants, we underestimate how much the school is actually looking for fit, right? We don't just want the best students. We want the best students for us, right? And the best students for ESA might not be the best student for another school in another place, right? So talking to current students, talking to alumni, understanding how their experience was, what drove them to ESA or to another business school, what made them reject another school and come to ESA. I think that these are very interesting insights that can help you even consolidate if ESA is the best option for you, right? And to know if you would be a good fit, because we need to understand that this is a two-way relationship, right? We are choosing you and you're also choosing us, so we also need to be assessed. So I think that this is an important perspective that sometimes candidates neglect or underestimate the power that they already have. They also have, because you also have power, right? And because the moment that we admit you, or when we are assessing you, I say that we are more looking for reasons to admit you than to reject you. Like we really want our candidates to do well in the process, to prove to us that they are good for IESE, right? So do your homework in terms of what are we really looking for, what is the real experience at IESE, what do our alumni look like, right? And then if you can make links to how our alumni are and how you are, I think you've done most of the job, right? Because this is what we are trying to do as an admission officers and in the admissions committee. We're trying to see, and we are all alumni in the admissions committee. So the question that we're constantly asking ourselves is, would I like to have this person in my team? And then if the answer is yes, then it's very likely that you're going to be admitted. If the answer is no, then it's probably a reject, right? So if you're able to answer that question and have it very clear and convey that in a very clear way to us, then you're making our job much easier.
Okay. But so thank you very much. So now we have to work hard to prepare them, make them in. Of course, many dream of your school, but we have a few accepted. And you see, for the Indian students, even with the 750, it does not guarantee acceptance. But now I'm going to meet two students, Anandita and Ayush, and to give you an example. So they have started the school like less than 6 months ago, and they already have job offers in top consulting firms and investment banks. So it means that it was worth the pen. Thank you very much, Paula, for everything.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, bye-bye.
Take care, and good luck to you all.